We're going to start with creating a secret word bank. So we're going to create, or we're going to generate several words that, or choose several words that the player can guess. For now, we're going to seek with the simplest version of the game, which is going to be only one word that we know already. And we're assuming that the player will not have access to this code, so they will not know what is the actual secret code. But for now, we're gonna use this string, or define this string variable called secret word. And let's say, or the secret letter or secret sentence, maybe it's better to call it to secret expression. Maybe that's a better name. Our secret expression or secret word will be Java programming is fun. That's going to be our secret expression. Okay, but we are not going to reveal this secret expression to the player. So instead, we're going to show them a bunch of dashes, and each dash will represent a character in this expression that we have. So the very first thing that we need to do is to know what are the number of characters in this secret expression variable. And as you remember, that there is a method for that, or there is a tool in Java for that, and it is called the length method. So I'm going to create an integer variable called secret expression length. Although it's a lengthy name for a variable, but it is a very meaningful name, so we're gonna use this rather lengthy name. So as you remember, again, that's the length method. So secret expression dot length. So it's gonna say exactly how many characters, including spaces, are in this secret expression. So while we're using, or we're getting the length of the secret expression, as I said, we're going to just hide these letters, and instead we're going to show them as dashes. So for that, I need to create another string that's going to store the progress that the user has made so far. And at the very beginning, there is no progress. That means every character will be replaced with a dash. So we're going to have another, like a string that will be created out of the just dashes. So it's going to be user, or the player, let's call it player, or player expression, and it's going to be equal to replacing dash, and how many times it's going to be repeated based on the length of this secret expression. That's why we just got the length of this secret expression. So if there are 10 characters in this one here, we're going to show 10 dashes. So for now, we don't need to be worried about the spaces, although the spaces also will be represented as a character as well, but that's fine. Again, we're going to just create a very simple version of this game. We're not going to create a very fancy game. It's going to make everything very complicated. So we're going to keep everything as simple as possible. So far we created a secret expression and secret expression length. Let's test our player expression and see if it works or not. Again, that's a very good idea all the time to print like the result or the things that we're developing. So System.out print ln player expression, and let's see. As you see here, there are a bunch of like dashes that will later will be revealed if the player guesses a correct letter. So when we learn about reading different values such as integers, booleans, or doubles or floats from the keyboard, I said we're going to learn about learning or reading characters later, and that's a time to read a string or reading a character from the keyboard. So for that, because there's going to be a game that a player will play. So that means probably a human gonna play that game and not a computer. So we're gonna read, or we're gonna provide a tool for the players in order to enter the characters. So that means I need to use a library, and which is in this case the scanner. So java.util.scanner, which is again is a class or a library available in Java language. So import java.util.scanner, and I'm going to create, let's just define it at the very beginning of the main method. So scanner, let's call it KB, and it's going to be new scanner, which is again in order to read from the keyboard, and I'm going to use the System.out. So we have the secret word prepared, replaced with dash, and we printed the player expression. That's what's going to be printed. We're going to be available, or will be shown to the user. And now let's have a guess. As you see here, we made it very simple. We're just going to read something, and if that letter or that character is inside that secret expression, we're going to reveal that as part of the player expression progress. So let's read a string from the keyboard. So the method for that, or the tool for that, is called next. So KB, which is a variable of type scanner, has a method called next, which will read a string from the keyboard. However, we only need the very first character of that string, okay, because we're only going to read one character at a time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first create a string variable, which is, or actually I can just create a character here. So I'm going to call this character, and because there's a player guess, I'm going to say player guess. That's maybe a very meaningful name. So here it is a string, and on the left side I have a character. So I need to somehow extract the very first character. So because that's going to be the very first character, we're going to use the character add, which will give us the character at the given index. And because we're going to give or receive the very first item, we need to use the character add and pass 0 as the setting or the parameter to this method or the tool character add. So as you remember, in Java, indices start at 0. So we're counting or where we're putting the index for each place, we're starting at 0 and not at 1. So the very first character of that string that will be read from the keyboard will be the player guess. So if they press S or J or P or any other character that will be read, will be assigned to the player guess character. So now we're going to learn about a new thing in Java. As I said, with this game we're going to learn a lot of things. The new thing that we're going to learn will be Boolean expression and conditional programming, which means we were going to check, or we're going to decide if the player guess is inside the secret expression or not, because that's how the game works. And that's going to be what we're going to talk about in our very next video, and very shortly.